The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
And welcome in, everyone, to another edition of the High Low Sports Podcast. We appreciate you, all of you who are able to join us live here on this Wednesday evening. Or, you know what, if you're not able to join us live, we appreciate you listening to us in the future as well as too. There's a lot to talk about in the world of sports, and we can't wait to get into it as well too. It is DJ, joined as always by my co-host Kelsey. And Kelsey, football is back, but depending on who you talk to, it never really left. You just got something else to look forward to.
Channeling our good friend Zach Heilman, football never leaves anymore. It is always football season. And if you asked him, maybe it's the real football season now. You have, off-season NFL is where the good stuff happens, really. And you have the XFL kicking off, version 3.0. And we're getting ready for the USFL here in, another couple week and a half, or a month and a half, basically, April 14th. So it's been an exciting time. I mean, it's good times. Good times for all football fans.
Absolutely. You mentioned that we have a new brand of football that is out right now. More coming up. The offseason is officially underway with the NFL Combine coming up. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about the XFL as well, too, among some other things. Plus, we're now in the home stretch after All-Star Weekend for the NBA as well, too, which begs a very interesting question that we're going to be talking about later. So you definitely want to stick around for that. We're going to answer the tough question in crunch time as well, too. It's a tough question with a few different answers, and well, we're going to find the right one for you as well, too. So you definitely want to stick around for that one as well, too. But that is enough for this long, elongated intro. It's time to get into our tip-off segment. And the tip-off, of course, is brought to you by our good friends over at RexMD. Get 90% off RexMD and only pay $2 per dosage using the link listed there below. And you know what? I could tell you all about RexMD, telehealth for men. But you know what? Go ahead and take a listen here and learn a little bit more about it from our good friends.
Fellas, do you sometimes need a little help in the bedroom? Valentine's Day is just around the corner, and our sponsors at RexMD are here to help you make this the best night of your life. Erectile dysfunction is a common medical issue that over 30 million men in the U.S. tackle every day. We've all had those nights where we get too nervous and just need a little help. The doctors at RexMD will evaluate you online, no office visit needed, and ship medication directly to your door before the big day. With RexMD, they're here to help and provide you with real FDA-approved medications at the best price. Act now to take advantage of their Valentine's Day deal by heading to rexmd.com/bellyup. Our exclusive deal will save you up to 90% off, where you'll pay as low as $2 per dose on generic Viagra instead of $90+ on Viagra. That's RexMD/bellyup for 90% off. Your partner will thank you.
And always a pleasure to hear from our good friends over at RexMD as well, too. So definitely go check them out as well. And before we get into the actual topic of our tip-off segment, we do have a comment, and because we appreciate each and everyone who tunes in, we don't want to give you the shaft. We want to acknowledge those right away. So we're going to look at this first one from RJ saying, it's never too early. What do the Bears do? And does the Lake Show make the playoffs? So I'll go quickly. I think the Bears are going to trade that pick. I think there is just too much that you can get back from it. And I think there's enough to see from Justin Fields still to go. So I think they will make a deal. I don't think any of these QBs is bright is Andrew Luck, Trevor Lawrence, where you can't miss no matter what or anything like that. And I think the Lake Show, I think they make the play-in, but the playoffs, Anthony Davis needs to play. He needs to basically play the rest of the year. He can only miss a handful of games. He needs to play like Anthony Davis. That's the only way I think they make past the play-in.
Look, playoffs. We're talking about the playoffs with this team. That is no. I'm with you. Maybe the 10 seed going into the play-in game. They might win the first play-in game, but I don't see them getting out of the play-in tournament. And as far as the Bears go, yeah, trade the pick. Trade the pick is what they need to do. They need to trade back. You can get a weapon for Justin Fields later in the draft. That's okay. You can get him second, third round, really. But you're going to get a haul for that number one pick. Take it. Get your offensive line set up. Get a pass rusher while you're there, because there's loads of them in this draft. But we'll talk about that a little bit more.
Absolutely. There's a lot you could do with that pick as well, too. There's a lot. We agree. We hope they're right as well, too. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that number one pick here a little bit later when we talk about the NFL draft and the prospects and kind of kick off that segment. But first, we got a different brand of football that's actively playing right now. Is XFL 3.0 is underway right now with week one just wrapping up. And you know what? Third time's a charm. I'd say it was a pretty good opening weekend while watching the games. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Most of them were pretty close to one, a little lopsided, but it was a fun brand of football, and you take it as it is XFL football. You can't compare it to Patrick Mahomes throwing laser beams, but it is a fun brand of football.
Oh, it was absolutely exciting. I mean, look, this is a lot of fun to watch week one. Fun fact for week one, if you guys didn't know, there were 3 coaches who had previous experience. All 3 teams of those 3 coaches were favored, and guess what? They all managed to pull out a victory. So very interesting there to see. And actually, every game did cross the over on their over-unders. But interestingly enough, similar to how the USFL week one also did the same thing there. So it was very interesting to watch the XFL, the way they kicked off. And just, I mean, really, you got to see a lot of fun and a lot of excitement. I mean, St. Louis Battlehawks alone, that game was absolutely insane, down 18-3 going into the fourth. Come back down 15-3 going into the fourth, come back to win 18-15. That was an insane game. Seattle DC comes down to a Ben DiNucci fumble. There was the Arlington Renegades coming back from 3 touchdowns down in the first game. Orlando Guardians tried to make a game out of it, but well, there's a Paxton Lynch story there that needs to be talked about too.
Absolutely. But we'll go right off to the top here. The first game I have listed on the dock is the Vegas Vipers taking on the Arlington Renegades. And you know what? This one, to me, this was what USFL football should really all be about. A very close game, 22-20, right down to the wire. And when you look into the numbers too, the funny part is Luis Perez, the quarterback for the Vipers, very, very good as like an alternate football quarterback. Unfortunately, he accounted for almost all the scoring in this game, both in a good way and in a bad way, with a few touchdown passes, 3 touchdown passes for his own team. That's great. But a couple of touchdown passes to the other team with a couple of pick sixes that kind of got them back into it and let Arlington spring that second half comeback. So when I look at that game, that's just a fun game. But what kind of as great as Luis Perez played, though, 15 carries for 25 yards on the ground is not going to get it done, especially when you got 31 carries for 83 yards on the other end. So not a great yards per carry average either way you go about it, but one stuck to it, and they basically just waited till Perez tossed a few their way, and it kind of played out as well. It was almost like playing Brett Favre back in the day. He'll throw you a couple. You just got to catch him and walk the other way.
Yeah, it was. I mean, look, Luis Perez is a guy that you kind of live and die by in these alternate leagues. You know, a lot of literally every league that has come about in spring since the AAFL, since they all really restarted again, has featured Luis Perez in some way, shape, or form. The only one that didn't was the XFL 2.0 because they weren't around long enough to have Luis Perez because of, well, the shutdown. But yeah, no, so it's very interesting to see that he accounted for, I mean, really, 90% of the scoring outside of field goals. So pretty impressive to see. And yeah, the Arlington Renegades coming back. First of all, 2 top teams in the league for facing off week one. That was pretty well unanimously accepted by most people. Our good friends over at the USFL podcast, who also do an XFL podcast, did their rankings, and that was really what they came up with. It was the Vegas Vipers or it was the Arlington Renegades as their number one option there. So yeah, it was an impressive game to kick it off, and I really feel like it set the tone for the rest of the weekend. Really,
absolutely as well too. Now we'll move on ahead to our next game as we had probably the least close game is the Orlando Guardians having a rough time with the Roughnecks out of Houston as well. And this one, in a very similar fashion, featured a whole lot of interceptions, a combined 5 interceptions, not a lot on the ground. And you know what? A fun callback to a very popular NFL name to those who have followed for the last 10 or so years is you mentioned Paxton Lynch, a fun story with him. Starts the game 14 of 20, 125, a touchdown and a pick, sacked 4 times for 27 yards. But as has been unfortunately a common trend throughout his career, he was yanked out there pretty early on a short leash and replaced by Quentin Dormady as the backup quarterback who threw a touchdown, but threw a couple of picks of his own. So for the Guardians, not able to guard a whole lot today. It was a very rough outing for them, especially for the 2 signal callers.
Yeah. Okay. What a story for Paxton Lynch. And I don't mean this in a good way. First of all, first player in all of football history to be benched in 4 different pro leagues. In the NFL, in the CFL, in the USFL, and now in the XFL 3.0. 4 different pro leagues this man has been benched. He had 1 good year at Memphis. He ate at Wingstop during his draft night. At Thigh Stop at the time. Or if they did something special for him. But anyways, Wingstop, Thigh Stop in Memphis at the time. Made a big deal about the wings. And, well, I mean, he must have had too many wings on draft night because he's been dropping the football ever since. It is awful to watch. Some of the names he's been replaced by is just no. Tim Tebow along the lines, like guys that he should never be replaced with in the world. And this is kind of an unfortunate situation. We looked up his stats the other day. Actually, not a bad stat line in his career. Nearly 66% completion rate in his career. 732 yards in 6 games played in the NFL. 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in the NFL. He started this game off 70% from in the game. So, like, it's hard to be like, oh, this guy is bad, because he's not bad, but he's not decent. Like, he's somewhere in between in that mystery of Jake Plummer / Jake the Snake / Ryan Leaf. I don't even know what to expect from this guy. I think there's just something about 6'7" quarterbacks that just never work out.
It's just not meant to be. Like, you want to be able to see over the line, but if you could dunk on the offensive line, it's too far. So you got to find that happy medium as well. And not to get lost in all of that as well, too. The Roughnecks defense was putting them both in hell. They had 7 sacks total, with 4, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 coming from Trent Harris alone, that accounted for 28 lost yards as well, too. So a fantastic showing from the Roughnecks defense, led by Trent Harris, who have fun quarterbacks coming up for the rest of the year. It looks like he's going to be spending a lot of time in the back.
Wade Phillips had a line before this season started that he basically said, my defensive pass rush should be in the NFL. And I don't know if that's a Wade Phillips thing, because he just does that. Like, he just does pass rushes, like especially outside pass rushers. This is what DeMarcus Ware can take half part of his career to Wade Phillips. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's like Wade Phillips gets involved and it's immediately like, all right, you guys know how to pass rush now. Congratulations. Here you go. But yeah, it's funny that they work out that way. And look, I feel bad for any offensive line in the XFL going forward, because it is going to be quite a wild situation, to say the least.
Absolutely. And, with Wade Phillips scheming him up too, even if you are able to match them talent-wise, he's going to pull some magic tricks out of the hat to where there's like triple stunts going. Next thing you know, there's guy looping up from one tackle to the opposite tight end on block. So he's definitely going to pull some tricks out of that hat.
You thought a Texas stunt was bad. Just wait till you see the double reverse triple Texas stunt in there. And I don't even know if that's a real thing, but for Wade Phillips, it might become a real thing.
If he's pulling tricks out of the hat, he's got the one car salesman from the Fairly Odd Parents sized hat there that he's going to be pulling out of as well too.
Doug Dimmadome,
owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome. That's going to be the bag that we got to see him pulling things out of as well too. So.
Yeah, I do want to say before we move on from this game, worst helmets in the league so far belong to the Renegades.
Yeah, they're lucky that they were dominating, because they were not winning any pageantry with those as well too. It was a bad one.
Texas flag on the helmet just does not work. I'm sorry.
It looked like a mocked version of a Star Wars helmet a little bit as well too, like a parody version almost as well too. It was not their best work. It was a rough one, but we'll see. The way they get after quarterbers, I'm not gonna stand back there.
Yeah. I don't want to be the offensive lineman that deals with that.
Absolutely. And next we're going to what might be your 2 teams here in the XFL as well too. Just still kind of up in there. We have the St. Louis Battlehawks taking on the San Antonio Brahmas. A very close game, 18-15, but the St. Louis Battlehawks with a tremendous fourth quarter run, scoring 15 points in the fourth, but San Antonio had 9 of their own, so we had a little bit of a slow game throughout, followed by an explosive fourth quarter led by maybe not your favorite quarterback in this league, AJ McCarron, tossing a couple of touchdowns as well too. And when we look at the Brahmas as well too, Jack Cohn, a guy from, you know what? We thought there was some NFL potential there just to make a roster, but it kind of flamed out a little bit. 200 yards, a touchdown, and a pick as well too. So really competitive, really close game with a very, very exciting finish, but not quite as explosive as those other ones.
Yeah, look, the Brahmas are they're a team that they're a run team. I mean, they're just purely a run first team, led by, oh, by the way, Kalen Balaj. Anybody remember him? Because he's playing in the XFL. Yeah, he's playing in the XFL, and so is Jacques Patrick. If you guys don't remember him, he's kind of a sneaky running back that had a little bit of a moment in college, and then it disappeared. But as you mentioned, the Battlehawks, AJ McCarron. Look, I've said a lot of things about a lot of Alabama quarterbacks in my career. AJ McCarron, probably I've said the most things about in his career. But I got to give the guy credit. He's been through a lot in his life. And then on top of that, well, he also has a 10 for a wife who he's had 3 children with now at this point in time. And to see him go through everything he went through, especially, looking at the NFL, all the stuff he went through in the NFL. If you guys remember the concussion helmets, those special edition concussion helmets that came out that looked like a giant marshmallow, he was the reason for that helmet. I mean, he was the first guy to try it out in the NFL. And let's just say that, that didn't really help his game very much either, to say the least. But look, he went through a lot, and to see him come back and make this comeback and that fourth quarter, like the rest of the game sucked. I'll be honest. The rest of the game was awful. There were 3 missed field goals, 3 made field goals, but it was atrocious. Like, honestly, the rest of the game was just not fun to watch. But the fourth quarter was as exciting as it gets. And that's what the XFL is coming and bringing about with this new 3.0 edition of the XFL. It is a lot of fun, I got to say. But yeah, seeing him score, bring this one back home for the Battlehawks. It kind of continues the trend of the Battlehawks from the previous edition of the XFL, where they were an exciting team. But then on top of that, now you have AJ McCarron basically bawling on the sideline because he was so happy to finally be back on a field and bring his team to a victory. That was really cool. But yeah, the Brahmas, maybe my backup team now, but I'm gonna ride with the Battlehawks for now.
Absolutely. And I do also want to mention too, a familiar face from the Big 12, Hakeem Butler, are sighting as well too. A few catches, including a touchdown as well too, who, if you remember in college,
a clutch late touchdown.
He put defensive backs in hell, being 6'5", 220, and incredible ball skills. Unfortunately, NFL didn't quite pan out because he can't really run away from people. So he's great at contested catches. The problem is everything is contested because he wasn't able to escape. And unfortunately, a little bit too thin to make that full-time conversion to tight end as well too. So it's glad to see him getting a chance to kind of just do what he does best and still bully defensive backs as well too. And AJ McCarron is not afraid to throw it up there, especially in the red zone areas. So he'll put it up.
Him and Marcel Aitman, man. If you guys know about Marcel Aitman from Oklahoma State, he was another dude that we thought he had some NFL, but did not pan out. He's also too small as well. Both of those dudes are just over 6'3", and he just threw it up to him. Like, he had fun. And then there's Austin Prohl, who is shorter than both of them and somehow got open the most.
Yeah, absolutely as well. Now going to the cap of them all as well too, is we have one of the better quarterback matchups on paper, even though it didn't necessarily play like that in the game, is we have the DC Defenders taking on the Seattle Sea Dragons, including the Josh Gordon, as many of you well know as well too. Who maybe you've heard of Josh Gordon. He had a pretty good game himself, 6 for 74 and a touchdown as well, picking up right where he left off, lighting it up early on in his debut as well. But I'm going to circle back to the quarterbacks as well too. Ben DiNucci with 54 pass attempts, 35 for 54 for 282, 1 touchdown, a couple of picks. And Steve Montez, a relatively popular name in some alternate football areas as well too, getting a couple of tosses in there, 1 for 2. And then for the DC Defenders, speaking of popular alternate football quarterbacks, Jordan Tiamu, arguably the best quarterback on paper in the XFL
former
as well.
Battlehawk.
Former Battlehawk as well too. And De'Aaron King, your old boy from back in college, who you at one point said was going to help beat Alabama, and then he let you down the rest of the way as well.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about
never
that.
Bounced back from that. It's been 2 years, and he's let you down that badly ever since. But he got a couple.
We'll never talk about De'Aaron King as a Miami Hurricane ever again.
Never again. But both quarterbacks getting it done on the ground, rushing it, each one getting a rushing touchdown as well too, without a passing touchdown. But this was also another one of those really close quality games, 22-18. DC scoring the only points of the fourth quarter to get them the dub as well too. And honestly, I think the Seattle Sea Dragons have a little bit of something through the air. I think they have a good passing attack. The problem is, I mean, Ja'Cory Peterson had 12 catches for 95 yards, and that's not even – and then you have Josh Gordon, as you mentioned. You can't throw it 54 times. So, I mean, you had 17 rushes for 51 yards. Like, you had a bunch of plays, but it's got to be more maybe 40-25. 54 and 17 won't quite work, so they got to find a way to keep the ball somewhat on the ground, kind of moving. 54 pass attempts is just a little outrageous.
What was the last time I saw a quarterback throw 54 pass attempts in a loss? I think Tom Brady, maybe? No?
Maybe.
Yeah, Tom Brady this last season?
In the playoffs, yeah. Against the Cowboys, yeah. I think he threw 60.
Yeah, so that's the lot. But before that, I mean, you very rarely see a quarterback touch 50 pass attempts in a game. I mean, very, very rarely, unless they're making a huge comeback. And that's the thing. This game wasn't a situation where they're making a huge comeback by any means. Like, it was a back and forth game. And yeah, like, it really, like, wow. And look, Ben DiNucci, congratulations. Sorry. I don't know which way to go with it because he does have that crucial fumble there at the end of the game, and that sealed it. But yeah, like, you had a great game. Like, three receivers over 50 yards. One of them, Josh Gordon, obviously Blake Jackson as well with 51 yards on 8 catches. 8 catches, by the way, and then 12 catches for Ja'Cory Pearson, as you mentioned, for 95 yards. Easily the best air game we've seen so far. This one kind of reminds me of the previous edition XFL, the Battlehawk, or not the Battlehawks, but the old Renegades at the time, with led by an old, now NFL quarterback in PJ Wilson. PJ Wilson. So, PJ Tucker. Sorry, quarterback Carolina Panthers. There you go. But yeah, that's I don't know. It's a lot of air in there, but you just got to figure out a way to stop them defensively, and there wasn't a whole lot of defensive play there for Seattle. And despite the cool uniforms, I do like the updated orange helmets for the Sea Dragons. Despite the stupid S logo now versus the old logo, I like the old logo better still. I do like the new helmets though. So I don't know. I just couldn't pull it off, but it's gonna be a fun team to watch though. The Sea Dragons going forward.
Absolutely, you got to imagine with the weapons they have too. They'll be blazing on the field as well too. Josh Gordon's squad will be ready to go. So, but we're not done with alternative football too. As that wraps up the XFL part, we are looking for that. But the USFL had their second annual draft this the other day, last night as well too. And Jake Horst, the offensive tackle out of Michigan State, going number 1 overall. So building heavy in the trenches. What I want to point out though too is as you go through the first round, some really good players in there. But I'm looking at some of the players we saw go in the second round, and I'm like, oh, those are notable guys. Like those are NFL guys, like Tanner Morgan, the QB of Minnesota. That's a guy who less than 13, 14 months ago was expected to be a draft pick. Then you look at Justin Ford, the cornerback out of Montana, had 9 interceptions in his first season, first team all conference, and then teams just refused to throw his way for a reason. 9 there, I can give you 9 of them. Isaiah Bolden from Jackson State as well too. Quentin Burrow, and of course, every Big Ten player's favorite polarizing quarterback, Adrian Martinez out of Kansas State, who played for Nebraska for 4 seasons as well too, as dynamic as it gets on the ground and with his arm as well. So a lot of really good players in this draft. And I'm looking at second round. I'm like, this could have been a second round NFL draft, depending on when you told me. I mean, like that's a really good set of players.
I'm not even going to stop there. I want to even go to the third round there for a pick there, and that's Malik Cunningham out of Louisville. You're telling me Malik Cunningham fell to a third round in the USFL draft, like collegiate draft here? No, that can't happen. And not only did he go to the USFL, he goes to the reigning champion Birmingham Stallions, who, by the way, guess what they love to do? They love a dual threat quarterback in their offense. So Malik Cunningham might just sign himself up as a future MVP of the league at the rate landing with Birmingham there. And that's just an impressive. I think out of all the draft picks, I think Birmingham did the most to address what their issues were. Because even in round 4, getting Darius Davis, the small little speedster out of TCU, that's a huge pickup as well. Mark Evans late in the draft, offensive lineman out of Arkansas Pine Bluff. He was a guy that made a few all-star conversations, these all-star games, and was actually impressing scouts regularly. So I'm surprised some of these guys ended up in the USFL and didn't actually hold out for an NFL draft option, maybe late round draft pick. But I mean, hey, congratulations to him, because some of these guys have hit the gravy train, if you will.
Definitely as well too. And you had 10 rounds, 8 teams, so 80 new players getting a chance to continue playing football. 79, excuse me. But yeah,
79 because New Jersey lost their round 1 pick.
Okay.
Oh no, actually no, 80 picks. It was actually 80. They gave him 2 round 10s.
I was like, hold on now, guy. I thought I got 80. Like, okay,
my bad. Yeah, my bad.
80
they
new players,
2 round 10s, and they had no round 1.
80 new guys getting a chance to continue their professional football dreams as well. So you love to see it as football continues to be, I guess, the America's favorite as well too, and it continues even in a different manner. So I'm looking forward to when the season kicks off, because there's a lot of high quality players we'll be watching out for as well too. But that's going to do it for our opening tip-off segment. We take a little bit of an alternative look at football with the USFL and the XFL. We look forward to getting a little bit more involved in those as the season progresses along too, because they are a real fun blast to watch, and they help you scratch that football itch when there's not a whole lot else to scratch around with as well too. So that's now going to take us into Kelsey's second favorite part of every show, and that is the main event. The main event, of course, brought to you by Manscaped. Use code HILOSports, get yourself 20% off at checkout. And I could tell you all about it, but instead we'll go and let them tell you a little bit about it yourself as well.
We have breaking news. Manscaped now sells beard products. That's right. They are once again revolutionizing men's grooming with the brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. From a beard trim to a fresh shave, the technology behind the Beard Hedger Pro Kit allows you to shape your signature beard look. Now you can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com and using the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY for 20% off and free shipping. It's time to tame your mane. No one likes a weird beard, so say goodbye to all your stubble and trouble with Manscaped Pro Beard Kit. It all starts with the Beard Hedger. This thing is a juggernaut of fixing faces. First off, this cordless trimmer has a rotary wheel that gives you 20 hair cutting lengths, all with one guard, so no more messy drawers full of extra add-ons. That's right, face grooming doesn't need to be hard. Get 20 different beard lengths in just one guard. Plus, it's waterproof, so you can shave in the shower to avoid all that hair in the sink. The titanium-coated T-blade is tough on hair but smooth on your face, leading to single-stroke efficiency that brings satisfaction one stroke at a time. So make sure you get 20% off and free shipping when you go to manscaped.com by using the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY. Once again, that's 20% off and free shipping when you use the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY at manscaped.com.
And once again, we definitely can't help but recommend Manscaped as well, too. Obviously, that code you saw there works as well, but definitely use code HighLow Sports for 20% off and free shipping. Same deal as well, too, but the HighLow Sports one helps us out a little bit more. So either one you use, you're getting a good deal, but we appreciate it if you wanted to, give ours a try as well, too. So
we had to give a little love to the Belly Up Fantasy Football Leagues. Obviously, me dominating my fantasy football league with Belly Up this season. So I got to give him a little bit of a love, some love there. Give him a little bit of shout out during the promo.
You just wanted any chance to say you dominated the fantasy football league. That's all we were here.
I had one good league, man, and then the rest, the other ones were just they were not good at all.
All you needed is one. That's all it took. But now we're going to transition from the alternate football leagues. We're now going to talk a little bit NFL, as the NFL Combine is a little over a week away, as all players will gather into Indianapolis, get themselves poked, prodded, trimmed, everything the scouts want to do to basically see if that is going to be their next player as well, too. And they go through on-field tests, on IQ tests, interviews. It's kind of a cluster, but it does oftentimes transform people's dreams. And we saw someone catapult from arguably a top 30 pick to a number 1 overall pick based on their combine performance last year as well, too. So dreams can be made in Indianapolis in these next couple of weeks as well, too, in about 10 days. So what we're going to do, we're going to start really early. We're going to do our pre-draft combine top 10 NFL prospects. So right now, these would be the top 10 guys we would rank as of right now that have already declared for the NFL draft.
Can we say that one more time? Are still too early pre-draft This is what the NFL offseason is starting to do, ladies and gentlemen. We have to do it this time because we're still behind the times. If you ask the NFL Network, they put out 6 different mock drafts. They put out 6 different big boards. And you know what, though? They still don't have a better record than us than our previous 2 big boards combined. DJ, if you remember, our nice two seasons of big boards in the drain, and guess what? Over 80% of our top 50 have been drafted in the top 50 picks.
And you can go look with their draft profiles with them too. They seem to have worked out pretty well, but we won't toot our own horn too much as well too, because we got.
I will toot our.
I know you will. We have plenty of time to do it. We got a whole couple of months left for the NFL draft and plenty of time to do so as well too, and some future big boards coming up as well too. We'll keep it going for the 3rd year in a row, so keep it out for that. But Kelsey, we're going prospects 10 to 1. We're gonna go ahead and rank how we're looking at them right now, and reiterating for everybody, this is not the top 10 players we think will be drafted. These are the top 10 ranked ones. Like, this doesn't mean they'll get picked 10 through 1 in those spots. These are just ranking them if we gave them a grade or a number. So like if it was Madden, these would be the 10 highest overall. So Kelsey, starting at number 10, what are we looking at for your top 10?
Oh, I'm probably going to catch some flack from this one right off the bat because, well, that's just what happens, I guess, when I make these lists. I'm going Bijan Robinson out of Texas. It's not that I don't think he is a potentially better player here. I do worry a little bit about his top-end speed. And in the NFL, we've seen some running backs really not be able to get away from guys if they don't have top-end speed. And so for me, Bijan Robinson, I do worry about that. Once he gets through the first level, if he's able to break a tackle with a linebacker, is he able to escape beyond that? That's the only worry I have about Bijan Robinson, because beyond that, the guy runs the ball with impeccable vision, And he drives through the hole. It's so patient through the hole. It's a fantastic thing to watch. As a former offensive lineman, he's like the running back I wish ran through the holes that I made. Like, that's what I wish. So Bijan Robinson, he is going to be my number 10 there to start it off. And again, it's pre-combine, so depending on what his combine stats are, he could easily climb into the top 8, top 7, top 6, maybe even top 5.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, though, because of positional value, he is definitely not going top 10, unfortunately, because running backs, a dime a dozen. As great of a prospect as he is, running backs won't go that high, unfortunately. But that's not what we're here to do. We're here to grade the overall player. So who are we looking at now climbing up the list?
Yeah, so at number 9, I'm going actually with Dalton Kincaid, the tight end out of Utah. And this one's probably, again, talk about catching some flack here. I picked him over the Notre Dame tight end. How dare you? Yeah, I did. I picked him over Alabama's tight end. Yeah, absolutely. Dalton Kincaid's been the only target offensively at receiver for the Utah Utes and for Cam Rising for 3 seasons now. And by the way, not a single soul in the world, whether it be for Ohio State or any other team that comes to play Utah, can guard him. I don't know what it is, but the dude just gets open. It's eerily reminiscent to how we saw with, this is going to be bad again. Eerily reminiscent to how Gronk would just find his way open. Not the fastest guy in the world, but just somehow got open. And it's really his quick ability, like his ability to change speeds, change his direction very easily, and really smooth for a guy that's 6'6", 6'5", almost 250 pounds. So yeah, he's an impressive target here for Utah, and so that's why I'm going Dalton Kincaid here.
Tight ends are fun this year because there's like 3 of them at the top with him, Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame, and Darnell Washington from Georgia is kind of like the 3.
I don't even want to get started on Darnell Washington, man. That dude he's a freak, but he hasn't proven enough as a tight end.
And depending on who you talk to, all 3 of those could be in the top 10. All 3 of them could be out of the top 10. One could be in there. It doesn't matter who you talk to. They could all be in different spots. So tight end this year is a lot of fun compared to the last couple of years, where last year we didn't have a whole lot that stood out too much. And then the year before that was Kyle Pitts and everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's hey, we'll see what happens going forward.
If he runs fast, I could see him climbing up a whole lot of boards if he runs relatively quickly.
Oh, dude, Darnell Washington is a freak. But you know what? Let me stop with the tight end love before I get too crazy.
All right,
so
we're moving to number 8.
Yeah, number 8. I'm going to go to there's something been late the last couple drafts about just guys with NFL pedigree. And if you guys know who I'm going here, the guy is built for the NFL, and he's built really to play this inside the box defensive back role that's been hugely popular lately in the NFL. That's Joey Porter Jr., an absolute truck stick of a corner. I'm sorry, like he really hits like he is a linebacker a lot of times, and he's fast enough, he's big enough, he can keep up with almost pretty much anybody that runs a route against him. So, give me Joey Porter Jr. Again, we'll have to wait and see about his combine here. I do think he has the biggest potential for me to be a bust come combine. Like, he could prove himself to be like a 4.6 40 running type of guy with really stiff hips. I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see. But from what I saw in the field for 2 seasons, really, I'm going to say 2 seasons of solidified work here for Joey Porter Jr. I like what I saw.
Absolutely. He's got a little bit of Joey Porter Sr., who, those who remember, was one of the Pittsburgh edge rushing linebackers who kind of wreaked havoc there for about a 4 to 5 year period off of the edge as well, too. They both bring the lumber if you're not careful. So I like Joey Porter a lot. If he tests well, he can climb up a lot of boards too. It's a deep corner class, and he has the chance to stand out.
I will say I don't think his future in the NFL is going to be best suited at corner. Like I said, I think he's that inside the box DB hybrid, Isaiah Simmons-esque. I think that's really what I see him as going forward. But I mean, he's a cornerback for right now, so that's where he's going to be listed, I guess.
Nickel corner, safety hybrid. I think there's room for him on the team. You find a way to use him.
Exactly. So I'm moving up to number 7. I'm going to stick with the kind of conversation about big boys here, and that's number 7 is going to be Broderick Jones, Georgia offensive lineman, technically tackle, but NFL at this point in time in the NFL. I've seen a 6'7" guard at this point in time in the NFL. So anything is possible when they actually get onto their teams. It's really based off of need, but I think Broderick Jones is probably going to convert to just being a tackle anyways. Dude's strong. He's as strong. Like he's just farm strong. Like you get him out there and he'll throw somebody out of the way. He's been going against probably 3 of the best pass rushers the NFL draft has seen recently in practice every day for 2 seasons. So yeah, I'm gonna I'm going to go Broderick Jones here. Again, offensive linemen in this one, there's a lot of them that are going to be pretty good in this draft. And I think for me, Broderick Jones is he's you'll see as I continue this, but he's not my top offensive lineman. But I do think he has the potential to climb that easily.
He's got some terrifying measurables, and he has the intimidation factor. You stand next to him, it's like, oh yeah, that's a full grown man plus some. Like, that's not just a man, that is a full grown man.
Exactly. So sticking with the offensive lineman here, I'm going to go to number 6, and I'm going Paris Johnson Jr. out of Ohio State. I do think he's long, lengthy. Again, as much as I diss on Ohio State guys in the NFL, offensive linemen from Ohio State trend very well. Linebackers as well. Those two positions in the NFL, defensive ends, I'll also include those guys as well. Those 3 position groups, those are the best trending position groups from Ohio State, but really offensive line takes the cake for me. Paris Johnson he's a guy that knows how to do both things, both pass rushing and run blocking very well, especially when you consider the new evolution of the read options and how they've been over the years. And with CJ Stroud, he was able to protect CJ Stroud very well. I mean, CJ Stroud had hours and hours and hours, and a lot of reason why is you had Paris Johnson out here just manhandling dudes. So for me, that's why I'm going to stick with Paris Johnson here at 6. And again, like Broderick Jones, I think Broderick Jones has the best potential to fly up boards. I also think he has the potential to drop down boards. Paris Johnson, to me, is going to be like 2 through 5 offensive linemen. I don't think he really moves beyond that. I don't think he's ever going to be number 1 of the offensive linemen here until after draft day. But I think pre-draft day, he stays in that 2 to 5 range for offensive linemen.
He reminds me of Elijah Fair-Tucker from a few years ago, where he'll never be number 1 with the Rashawn Slaters and the Penei Sewells, but he ain't going far. Like, his floor is starting lineman, it feels like. Like, that's the worst you get out of him.
Yeah, like, I mean, you're going to give me a Lane Johnson in the out of the draft? Like, all right, that works. I'll take a Lane Johnson-esque type of player. Like, sign me up for that all day long. But hey, you know what? Whatever. I digress. And my final offensive lineman in the group, I'm just going to go and pull the Band-Aid off here. Peter Skoronski out of Northwestern. He is my number 1, period. I think he might be everybody's unanimous number 1. I don't know. Depends on if you like, pure athleticism a little bit more so than absolute technique. And this is kind of the conversation we had a few years ago with Penei Sewell, whether he's the guy to go with, or if it's going to be the former guy out of Northwestern whose name is escaping me. Thank you. And whether it's going to be either one of them, and who should you like, athleticism, Penei Sewell, or do you like the technique? I like the technique a little better, so I'm going to go Skoronski here from Northwestern.
By the way, a spoiler alert, when it came to those two, the answer was yes. The athleticism, or the answer was yes either way, just like in this case.
I mean, honestly, yeah, but yes. Like if we're going to sit here and like nitpick, which they're going to do at the combine, like Skoronski gets the technical ability, and everybody and Broderick Jones gets the athleticism, and Paris Johnson really athleticism as well.
Exactly. It should be. It's definitely a good group here at the top as well too. And if you can get any of those, you're feeling a lot better about your offensive line group, regardless of the rest of it the next day.
Exactly. Well, going to the flip side of the of the trenches here, I'm going to go defensive line for my number 4 pick. It's going to be Myles Murphy from Clemson, a guy that didn't play in his draft in his bowl game, but that's okay because what he did in the regular season was just destroy offensive linemen. As much as I talk about manhandling from the offensive line standpoint, from the defensive line standpoint, it is just as important. On top of that, as in more of an interior defensive lineman, he has one of the most impressive abilities to get at the passer from an interior defensive perspective, which is shocking to me. Most interior defensive linemen in college don't get that, and he does have the ability to slide to the outside a lot, and he can play 50-50 if you need him to. I'm not going to say he's as great as Aaron Donald, but all of Aaron Donald's play style, where he can slide in and out like that, or insert defensive line / defensive tackle that is in the game today. They know how to do that, have that ability. So Myles Murphy, I think, is going to be kind of the next line of defensive linemen that we see here. But I think for me, he's currently number 4. But this is going to be one that's really he's going to depend on how he tests. I really do feel like if he tests badly, he can fall very, very fast.
I think if he tests well, that versatility you mentioned to play inside and out as well is going to help him. I mean, he's listed as edge, but when you watch him play too, he dominates from the inside as well. So you can just electric slide him across the line and get a matchup that you want. It's like, oh, there's left side strong. All right, we'll stick him at right defensive tackle. Oh, great. Now he's terrifying still. So his versatility, I think, is going to be huge.
And I think his ability to also play the run. I think that's kind of where I'm sitting here. Like,
That's a
okay,
strong card for sure.
you're telling me that you have the ability to play the run as well as you do and get to the passer from any position on the defensive line. I'm okay with that. Like, I'm going to just be like, it may not be the prettiest pick. It may not be the sexy pick that you want to see from your team if you're in the top 5, but it'll be the pick that gets your team into the playoffs. So that's how I feel about him. Again, just based off testing, though. I mean, if he goes in there and tests poorly, like, by all means, shut me up. But as of right now, it feels like he could be that guy that kind of helps the defense get the extra oomph, if you will.
Absolutely.
All right, so number 3, you guys have probably been waiting for me to get to the quarterbacks, and well, here it is. My one and only quarterback in my top 10. Yes, I said it. One and only quarterback in my top 10, and the only quarterback inside the top 13 in my top 13 list as well. That is Bryce Young out of Alabama. Obviously, we all know what Bryce Young has been able to do in his career, and he did so despite Bill O'Brien. He also did so despite having a quality running back his senior year. Oh, also, let's not forget, and you say what you will about Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs, fantastic late season guy, but early in the season was non-existent. Bryce Young has led some of the craziest comebacks I've ever seen on his worst quarterbacking days. His best quarterbacking days are when Alabama somehow lost. And yes, I'm talking about Tennessee. Doesn't make sense. He had a fantastic day, and they lose against Tennessee all because his defense let him down. That's it. He played half of the season with receivers that didn't know how to catch and a running back that couldn't run the ball because there was no Jahmyr Gibbs out back there. And then again, he played this offense through hell or high water. He got it through with Bill O'Brien calling the plays. And I don't get how anybody can call plays or can be successful with Bill O'Brien. The Texans couldn't be successful with Bill O'Brien to the point where Bill O'Brien traded their best weapon to the Arizona Cardinals for chump change, garbage, trash, whatever you want to call it.
The ghost of David Johnson.
Yeah, like it's embarrassing. So look, I got to give Bryce Young here. You and I have talked about this off air a lot, but he's got to hit that 200 weight mark. But I do think even despite like his height wise, I don't really worry about. I think as long as he hits that 200 mark, which he should. I mean, his body is going to grow. He is still young. He's still a young guy. But as soon as he hits that 200-pound mark, I don't think there's going to be a better quarterback that we've seen in the last 3 years. And basically back to the Joe Burrow draft, I'd say there's not been a better quarterback on the board for me. I think just as far as pure talent. I think Bryce Young is that dude.
Maybe Trevor Lawrence, but when you're putting him in that category, that's pretty darn good category. And I also want to mention, too, this might be the worst Alabama team as a whole we've seen in a very long time when you look at the receiver, just what we're used to seeing out wide, where you've seen a tight end, running back defense. It was a 2-man show, really, 2.5-man show this year compared to this year they took a step off and they were still a hop, step, and a skip away from being in the playoff nonetheless, too, because of what Bryce Young and a couple other guys were doing. And we'll talk about one of them here soon, each, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm going to get through my top 2 pretty quickly because I think these are unanimous top 2. Number 2, I'm going Jalen Carter from Georgia. This one, I'm just splitting hairs here. I think the extended ability of my number 1 pick, which is Will Anderson Jr., is why I have Will Anderson ahead of Jalen Carter. Not taking anything away from Jalen Carter. I think Jalen Carter is a high-quality player. I think he's a great defensive tackle. But the problem was you sat between 2 previous first-round picks last season. Like, you were the third-string guy last season, technically a defensive tackle. So, I mean, nothing against him. He just kind of falls into a prisoner of the situation. And that's just my opinion. Will Anderson, I think, look, let's not forget Will Anderson had the record for all pass rushers in NCAA football history 2 seasons ago for sacks. It wasn't Aiden Hutchinson. It was Will Anderson Jr., ladies and gentlemen. He did that as a sophomore, and then as a junior, he was just making the big plays. And so I look at that, and I think Will Anderson is he evolved to the point where he understands his positioning. He doesn't have to be in every play making the impact. He just makes the impact when he needs to, and he just makes the play on every play. So that's what I really felt with Will Anderson, whereas Jalen Carter, I feel like he can be taken out of games at times, but again, he'll develop just fine. It'll be just fine going into the next level for him. But as of right now, I'm going Will Anderson 1 and Jalen Carter 2.
if the quarterback race at the top that we imagine we're going to see between those quarterback needy teams and trying to trade with the Bears, that argument for number one pick between Jalen Carter and Will Anderson was going to be fascinating for these next few months. But I think we both are kind of in agreement. It's going to be which one of those guys goes at 2, 3, or 4, depending on how the trades end up playing out, assuming there are trades. So it's going to be fascinating to watch.
The Bears could take Jalen Carter with number 1, and I'd be okay with that too.
I'd give him a round of applause. I'd have some questions about how nobody traded, nobody offered. I'd have some questions, but you know what? You didn't screw it up, really. You still didn't screw it up.
Exactly. Like, you didn't screw it up, but there's probably a better option out there.
There might have been a different route, but I mean, the final answer, I guess, was right. You end up with Will Anderson or Jalen Carter. I don't care about the math. You got the right answer regardless.
Yeah. We're not asking you to show your math on this one. We're just asking you how you what your final answer is.
Exactly. It's going to be a very, very, very fun draft come. So real quick, Love, you recap your top 10 prospects list for us. Who you have top 10 pre-combine as a prospect grades.
Yeah, so my pre-combine prospect grades here, again, still way too early, pre-combine NFL prospects for the top 10. Go number 10, Bijan Robinson, halfback out of Texas. Number 9, Dalton Kincaid, tight end out of Utah. Number 8, Joey Porter Jr., the corner / I'm going to say linebacker here out of Penn State. And at number 7, Broderick Jones, offensive lineman out of Georgia. Number 6, Paris Johnson Jr., offensive lineman out of Ohio State. Number 5, Peter Skronsky, offensive lineman from Northwestern. That's a lot of offensive linemen. Number 4, Miles Murphy, defensive lineman out of Clemson. Number 3, Bryce Young, quarterback from Alabama. Number 2, Jalen Carter, defensive tackle from Georgia. And number 1, Will Anderson Jr., the edge / outside linebacker from Alabama.
A very fun list as well, too. And I think the good news is we're going to have some similarities because neither one of us is completely bat-ish crazy. So there are going to be some similarities, but we got some different guys in some different spots as well, too, with a lot of future moving parts. So nothing I say here can be held against me in the future court of draft combine law. So let's just get that out of the way now. But I'll go and start with number 10, getting into my list. I love this group of corners this year. I think there are 6 first-round quality corners right now when I look at it, just across the board. I'm going to start with number 10. I'm looking at Christian Gonzalez, the corner out of Oregon. 6'2", about 208 to 210 pounds, lengthy. His speed will be the question. Like if he can run in the 4.4s or a low 4.5, like 4.51, I think that's going to solidify him in the spot. With his length, his build, and his play style, he does not have to be a burner. He does not have to run 4.3 because he has so many other physically gifted tools. Technique is really, really good. Very Nnamdi Asomugha like with the Raiders, not with the Eagles or anything after that, but like prime Raiders Nnamdi, where put him on an island, let him get inside leverage and play press man with those long arms. Have fun. He gets beat. Recovery speed is shown to be more than enough. And if you underthrow it slightly, go gadget arms will reach up there and find a way to swat it down. And it's hard to jump ball a guy who's going to be bigger than those receivers you're throwing the jump ball to. So I like Christian Gonzalez a lot with some room to climb and still a little room to fall, but not fall very far. He's not quite Tariq Woolen's freakishness, but he's got his own brand of freakishness to him too. That is all good. There's definitely that is all good. But looking at number 9, I'm going to go with Tyree Wilson, the edge out of Texas Tech. When I look at Tyree Wilson, 6'6", 275, 280 pounds, very gifted, very athletic. Can fly up and down off the edges as well too. Honestly, this is Trayvon Walker of this year is what he could honestly be. He is explosive, and I could see him being absolutely dangerous out there as well too. And he could be a guy that climbs up to number 1. So keep an eye out for him as well too. I'm going to now go ahead and move on to number 8 on my list now as well too. Is we are having a little technical difficulties, but I'll go ahead and run the show for us really quickly. But Tyree Wilson is who I'm looking at for number 9. Number 8, I look at Miles Murphy, the edge out of Clemson, and Kelsey talked a lot about it. A very versatile edge rusher. Could play on the outside, could play on the inside. What I think makes him very interesting is how good he is against the run. It's very reminiscent to what Jadeveon Clowney has kind of done, where he's really good against the run, underratedly good, and can get after the passer as well. He's not going to be the pretty pick. I think if the Lions took him at 6 or something like that, or the Seahawks took him at 5, if the other top guys were off the board, it wouldn't look great on draft night. The immediate after grades would be like, everyone would be like, what? Why? But then once Sundays kick around, he'll be a very versatile, very good player as well too. So keep an eye out for Miles Murphy. I have number 8, but he can very easily jump up and climb up this board as well too, especially depending on how he tests. Now we're going to move on to draft prospect number 7. This is where I'm going to catch a little bit of flack. As much as I love this player, I think there's a little bit of room. Welcome back, Kelsey, as well too. Little technical difficulties. Just a recap for you where we're at. 10, Christian Gonzalez. 9, Tyree Wilson, the edge out of Texas Tech. Number 8, we got Miles Murphy out of Clemson. And now we're just reaching number 7, who is one of my favorite players in the draft, but I can't rank him any higher till after the combine. And that is, of course, your number 1 quarterback and mine as well too, Bryce Young out of Alabama. Heisman Trophy winner. Incredible last season with limited weapons, escapability, a whip of an arm, deadly accurate. My only concern is the weight. I don't even care as much about the height as long as he's not like 5'8" or 5'9". If he's 5'10" or 5'11", we're good. He's already proven that the height won't bother him. He can see. He doesn't have to Russell Wilson and drop back 30 steps and sprint forward 10 to be able to read anything. It's not Baker, who has the tendency to look straight ahead. Bryce Young finds the lane similar to Drew Brees. I just don't want him under 200 yet because quarterbacks get hit a lot, especially with offensive line these days kind of shaky because they don't get as much training camp practice to hit each other. So I want him to be able to take those hits. I'm not worried about him running. It's those hits in the pocket. So if he's 205 pounds at the combine, knowing he's going to put on weight just by naturally being a 22-year-old who's going to get, as we joked around, when I was 22, when I was 25, in that time frame, I put on roughly 25 to 30 pounds, whether I wanted to or not. So it's inevitable just with life. So I think he'll be fine. If he was 6'2" and 215 pounds right now, the bidding war would have already begun between the Colts, the Texans, the Raiders, the Panthers. It would already be $1, $1,000, $2. The auctioneer voice would be running out of steam right now. It would have started since the day after.
Dude, if he would hit, let's say he's 225 right now, like 225, and he's 6 foot tall, you already know 2 through 7 is sitting here just like, what do you want? Do you want all my ones? You want all my 1s and 2s? You want all my 1s, 2s, and 3s for the next 3 years? Take your pick, Bears, because you can have it all. I will give you the world, if you will. It is like a small world in the Bears' hands if Bryce Young had measured out that way. But as it is, it's still there's still the point that the Bears fans are sitting here talking about trading Justin Fields for Bryce Young. So, but I digress.
Absolutely. Honestly, if he was about 6'2" and 210, just a little bit bigger, more quote unquote prototypical quarterback size, I think he's Joe Burrow. They both move out in and out of the pocket so well. They both can run and escape. It's their ability to move while throwing, which is absolutely incredible. And when you're playing quarterback, there's car crashes going on all over the damn place around you, especially in the SEC with Jalen Carters and Will Andersons and stuff going on all over the place. He is never fazed by it. He just slides and moves, throws it off-angled platforms. He doesn't panic, which is a very rare commodity. Him and Caleb Williams, who are the two best, and Drake May. I got to give Drake May credit too. Those were the 3 guys in college football. And I'm like, they're not really affected. They don't panic. They don't seem scared. So Caleb Williams has his moments, especially when he's hurt down the stretch, but they never really panic. He tries to run and make plays because he can, but he doesn't seem panic.
I will say that Bryce Young, through injury or not, never panicked. Caleb Williams, when injured, did panic. Drake May, doesn't really panic, but he just kind of makes some dumb decisions.
We definitely want to see more of him, with him being basically a redshirt true freshman. So we got to see more of Drake May as well too. But it's but Bryce Young, he always seemed he never seemed to panic, even when he was moving and things weren't going right. And you mentioned his worst games had some of his best moments with the comebacks against Texas and Auburn is to that as well too. And what he did to Georgia.
Don't do that to me.
I'm more concerned about what he did to Georgia in that SEC championship game 2 years ago as well too. And barring injury, who knows? Maybe he's a national champion as well too. You never know if he has a host of receivers that game. But point is, Bryce Young, if he hits 6 foot and 205 pounds, he skyrockets up by board to 3. But the weight's just mildly concerning. You can't have a 190-pound quarterback. That's a little concerning when you have DeForest Buckner's and Aaron Donald's and Chris Jones. Oh, Lord, I don't want those hitting my quarterback, even if he is 230, let alone if he's a $190. So moving on we can do this all day, but moving on to number 6, I also got Broderick Jones, the lineman from Georgia as well. Guard, tackle, probably not center, but guard or tackle, an absolute mauler. Power O run off of his backside. I think he's going to be a mauler from day one who's going to refine his pass game. Stetson Bennett was never touched behind him, and no matter who they lined up at running back, there was 5+ yards of carry, if not a whole lot more. And against TCU, it was 19 yards of carry. So Broderick Jones, I think, is going to be a mauler from day one. I think he's going to be very athletic. The measurables are going to be good. I think he can even climb up this list a lot too. Number 5, I got your boy Peter Skoronski because he's my boy as well too. Northwestern offensive lineman. Technique, fantastic. Good athleticism. I think the concern is he might have some shorter arms than you'd like for a tackle, which I get that. But at the same time, they said it about Rashawn Slater too. As long as they're not T-Rex arms, I'm not terribly concerned. His floor is really good starting guard, it feels like. Oh, no.
Oh, no, I have a big head and little arms. They won't ever catch me holding now, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, shorter arms don't hurt as an offensive lineman.
I think they think don't let the defensive lineman in your body, but they forget people know how to adjust and play technique. It's not long arms are great, but you can adjust. It's not like he has those T-Rex arms. He's just not freakishly lengthy. The
same coaches that believe that are the same coaches that were like, hey, you take this part of your helmet and you put it at that part of his helmet too. And that's why the offensive linemen ended up with so many concussions. But I digress.
I mean, 300-pound men are not meant to collide that many times without some repercussions. No matter how they do it, that is explosions going on. But but I digress. We won't go too far into that. But Peter Skoronski have his offensive lineman number 1 and sitting at number 5. Number 4 is the guy who's climbed up a lot of boards. He only started playing football 6 years ago too, if I'm not mistaken. I got Devin Witherspoon, the corner out of Illinois. Put him in man coverage. He had a lot of Sauce Gardner in him how he played this year. The passer rating against him was in the 20s or something ridiculous when he was in man coverage. He was absolutely unbelievable. And when you turn on and watch him, always in the right spot, never overextends. I'm not saying he is Sauce Gardner because that's a first-team All-Pro rookie. That is incredibly rare. But I think he has a lot of similar traits and skill sets that we saw from Sauce Gardner. It's not necessarily the Jalen Ramsey 6'1" and 220 4.3 running guy. Now, or the Patrick Peterson 6'2", 4.3 running. He might not have quite those freaky measurables. He's a little more standard measurables. Technique, always in the right spot. Awareness, football IQ. Devin Witherspoon is absolutely outstanding. He could slip down just a little bit, if he runs a 4.55 or something like that, just because someone else could climb up. But just from the eye test, when you watch him playing at Illinois, I'm a big fan. There's a reason Illinois' defense was so darn good despite a pretty good season, actually, even though it wasn't exactly – it's not a known season on a national scale, but it was a really, really good season, especially in the Big Ten, where it had 2 playoff teams.
Best season they've had in a long time.
And he was a big reason part of it, leading that defense as well. Number 3, I got a guy who is not going in the top 10 by any circumstance, but that doesn't take away what he is as a player. I am looking at Bijan Robinson. Size, strength. The question, does he have that Jamal Charles speed, Adrian Peterson speed, or does he have that just really, really good speed as well, too? That is the question as well. I don't know if he's going to run kind of like when Jonathan Taylor came out. They said, what's he going to run? Oh, JT ran a 4.3. You see where that ended up going. If he runs a 4.3, well, he might get picked in the first round earlier than later because he's even better of a prospect than JT was coming out as well, too.
I hear Dallas needs a running back.
They do have them. They have Tony Pollard.
I hear they need another running back.
They have Turpin. They could put a running back. We're going to avoid that elephant in the room. But you know what? If they take him, that's a fantastic skill set player. What's different is he is so good in the passing game as a receiver and as a blocker. That's what is surprising is he is already a refined pass blocker as a running back as well too. And you can tote him the rock 25 times and not be too concerned about him breaking. You probably don't want to do that, but you can as well too. He's very similar to Saquon Barkley, but I'd say even a little bit better because he's a home run threat, but you don't really, where Saquon felt like he's primarily a home run threat, where Bijan Robinson has a little bit of him and a little bit of Zeke. So huge Bijan fan. He's not going in the top 10 almost under any circumstance, but as a ranking when he gets drafted, when he goes to Madden, he should be one of those higher rated players, 100%, especially if he runs fast. Number 1 and number 2, there's no surprises here. I got Will Anderson at number 2, Jalen Carter at number 1. For no other reason than they are both unbelievably good and we're splitting hairs. Will Anderson's for an edge, he's looking at about 245, so maybe slightly small against the run because sometimes he's not out of position in the run, but it's harder for him to get off of blocks from those really good tackles. Same thing about Von Miller in his career, and he turned into a Hall of Famer, Super Bowl MVP. So obviously Will Anderson, who comps a lot to that, can do that. Jalen Carter, unlike Jordan Davis and Devontae Wyatt, who came before him, he doesn't really need to come off the field. He came off the field because those guys were, for lack of a better word, seniority and both really freaking good in their own right. Jalen Carter's not a liability in the past like Jordan Davis kind of could be sometimes. He doesn't play like too high. He's more athletic than Devontae Wyatt, who's athletic as heck too. But he's the weird combination of both of them cranked up to 11 with a little bit of oh my god on the side. He could do literally everything he wants as defensive tackle. It's like Aaron Donald, DeForest Buckner, and Chris Jones all got pushed together as a prospect with as far as build, speed, athletic ability. So he's terrifying. If you get either one of those two players at the top, you are smiling because you got a cornerstone for your defense for the next decade as well, too. I don't see the worst case scenario for either one of these guys is they make a few Pro Bowls. Like maybe Brian Burns for Will Anderson and for Jalen Carter. I don't know. Like it feels like there is a really, really high ceiling and a really high floor for both these guys. So I think we're kind of in agreement. Those two at the top are the can't miss guys.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, I'd say Calais Campbell maybe worst case scenario, or Linval Joseph maybe worst case scenario for Jalen Carter. Yeah, like that's the worst, absolute worst case scenario. But yeah, these two are probably the can't miss prospects for this entire draft. And then you have, can Bryce Young hit the 200-pound 6 foot mark? Because if he does, then he's a can't miss prospect as well. And then Bijan Robinson, I think, is a can't miss just depending on his speed.
Exactly. There's a lot of really good talent in this draft. So I will go ahead and quickly just recap my top 10 prospects list from pre-combine. So starting at number 10, we got Christian Gonzalez, cornerback out of Oregon. Number 9, we got Tyree Wilson, the edge out of Texas Tech. Number 8, we got Miles Murphy, the edge/defensive lineman out of Clemson. Number 7, and looking to climb really quickly, we got Bryce Young, the quarterback out of Alabama. Number 6, the mauling offensive lineman, Broderick Jones from Georgia. Number 5, Peter Skoronski, the offensive lineman from Northwestern. Number 4, Devin Witherspoon, the corner from Illinois. Number 3, Bijan Robinson, the running back from Texas. Number 2, I got Will Anderson. And number 1, the edge from Alabama. And number 1, I got Jalen Carter, the interior defensive lineman out of Georgia. So definitely looking forward to this draft. Definitely looking forward to the combine to see how these guys measure out and test for those who do, as well as their pro days coming up as well, too. So a lot of fun times coming in the NFL draft, and keep an eye out for those top 50 big boards we will be releasing closer to draft time. We've done, this will be year 3 in a row now as well, too. And once we get a little more time to look through everybody, get the combines, the post, all of that sort of stuff too, it's going to be really fun to put that together. Definitely keep an eye out for those as well too. It's one of our favorite things to do each year as well. So couldn't tell with
the grin that I have on my face. That is one of my favorite things to talk about.
You're already thinking about it as well too, and we haven't even got that far. It may be too early, but it's still not too much fun.
I'm thinking about who's going to be my surprise pick that ends up in the top 50 here, like my Bailey Zappi last year. Like,
who's it going to be? We're going to have to stick around and find out as well. But that's going to do it for the main event. That is now going to take us into Kelsey's favorite part of every show, and that is the tip-off. The tip-off, of course, brought to you by friends at Outlier. Bet smarter, not harder. Go to outlier.bet/high-low sports. Get yourself a free 7-day trial. Check out some trends, stats, numbers. Help yourself make smarter bets. Maybe see something like, 9 out of the last 10 games, the Lakers have not covered the spread. Well, I'm not going to pick them to cover the spread now, or any other numbers like that might stand out to you as well. So in crunch time, we're going to talk a little bit of NBA, and there's a lot of topics recently following the All-Star game about load management and what should come with it as well, to manage, mismanage, or a crime, or smart playing. And honestly, when I look at it, I'm going to go quick with it. I don't hate load management. I don't like it. It makes sense, but I think it's kind of reckless, especially when you do it on the road necessarily. Because let's say not Kevin Durant, he's injured. I don't want to do that. But LeBron James, for example, is going to play in Indiana for one time a year. People buy those tickets. He decides to sit because it's a back-to-back. That sucks. That sucks for the people who came to see him. Not blaming LeBron for that. Not fully blaming him for that. I hate the back-to-backs. I wish there's a way they could eliminate those, or if they're back-to-backs, they're home games or something like that. I hate load management when it's for away games. That's the biggest thing that stands out. And I think one thing that might make it more interesting, and DeMar DeRozan actually said this just recently, that's kind of why we wanted to shove this one in here. In order to qualify for MVP, he said you should have to play 78 games minimum of the 82. That way you can't just like play 60 games, have a ridiculous stat sheet, your team sitting at number 1 and you get it. That's not saying anyone that has done that. Like, I know Jokic is an Iron Man and plays a lot as well. Same with Giannis when they win it. But I think that gives a different kind of incentive as well, too, for those sort of things. So kind of get your thoughts on load management, mismanagement. What do you think about DeMar DeRozan's comments?
I love DeMar DeRozan's comments. However, fun fact for you, DeMar DeRozan would have only qualified by his own statistics back in 2017, 2018, and 2015, 2016, and then 2 seasons, 2012 to 2014, and then his first 2 seasons in the league in 09 through 2010. So 5-6 seasons out of his career, he would have qualified. The rest he would not qualify for the 78 games. So maybe drop the number from 78 down to 70. I think would be a safer number here. But I do agree with what you were saying. I do think away games, I don't like load management in away games because as Anthony Edwards and as LeBron has previously stated, or Michael Jordan has stated, or Kobe has stated, people pay for this once in a lifetime opportunity to come and see their favorite player for an opposing team. That's it. Period. Point blank. End of conversation. That's the reason why I don't like load management away. Now, I also don't like load management if you're Kawhi Leonard and you play 50 games a season or 50 to 8 or 60 games, as DeRozan was talking about, a guy who has 60 games, incredible stats, and is possible MVP candidate. Like, no, if you don't play 70 games, if you have 20 to 30 load management days, get out of here. Like, the Spurs did it perfectly when they had Greg Popovich doing it with Tim Duncan, Ginobili, and Tony Parker. They would miss a combined total of 12 games, and they would alternate the games that they would manage. So one game it would be Tim sitting out. One game it would be Manu sitting out. One game it would be Tony sitting out. One game it'd be 2 of them sitting out. But together they'd only miss like 12 games, unless obviously due to injury they miss a game. So yeah, I don't like load management really at all. Like, if you're healthy, play. You only play 82 games. For some of you, you only play 82 games. Period. Like, that's it. You don't get playing games. You don't get playoff games. Whatever. For a playoff team who's in the like, if they've already clinched the playoff, they've already clinched their seeding, or they have clinched the instant bid to the playoffs now, I don't care. Or they're like, you know what, load manage at all times there. If you're playing for something though, no. And if you're not playing for anything, who cares? Just play. Like, just go out there and play. As a longtime Kings fan, I would have loved to see the Kings in game 80 of a season with their full roster out there. That would be fantastic to see. But, you know, in today's day and age, it doesn't ever happen. Coaches are always worried about the future of their superstars. But fun fact, these superstars never got injured as much, or get injured more than the superstars of old. And whatever reason that is, I will actually not debate that. But say what you will, load management I don't think works, period.
I understand everyone gets sick days. Everyone deserves sick days. It's the same thing as well, too. Whether you're sick, you're injured, you can't, whatever it is. But, like, when you have like 10 games that are missed due to rest, and it's always like a weird coincidence, that's when it's like, come on.
And you don't play, but what is it, 6 total back-to-backs in a season? I think you're required, like, each team has 6 required back-to-backs and 1-3 in a row. And, like, okay, fine. Don't play the middle game of the 3 in a row. Don't play 2 of the back-to-backs. Like, that's fine. By all means, load manage that way. But then your CBA is built for health and built for resting players. So to take load management is to just kind of throw your own CBA away at the end of the day.
I think all back-to-backs for each team, I think it'd be nice if they still spread it out and made it so the back-to-backs were both home games, if that makes sense too. Like, let's say the Lakers have a back-to-back, they play the Clippers the first one, even though it's ironically a double home game. Then the Spurs the next one, but you don't travel during it. Then, like, those teams that are traveling,
play Clippers. You know,
that was to do a doubleheader like the Yankees and the Red Sox used to do all the time, something like that as well too. I think there's ways around it for both, but I'm kind of in agreement with you as well too. It's tough because it's really tough, but at the same time, I get it, but I don't like it. I don't like it, but I get it. But at the same time, it's reckless. We could go on and on about this. It's a very goofy scenario, but I definitely agree. I think there should definitely be like an 80% attendance rate, maybe 85% attendance rate for any sort of regular season award or something like that as well too.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think awards, if you load manage at a certain point, like, the awards should be a non-plus for you. Like, you shouldn't have no chance at awards. Like, I'd even add in no chance at All-Star games and no chance at all NBA teams either. Absolutely. So, like, if that's a stipulation in your contract, sorry.
Like, and we're saying this is rest time. If you're actually on the injury report, that's a little bit different. Yeah. Like, granted, people will finagle back, oh no, his back hurts. It's like, well, I woke up funny. But either way, that's better than just like rest. But
Yeah,
We digress.
okay.
We won't dive too far into this one. We won't keep you here for another 45 minutes of us going on about load
As an old man who struggles to get out of the bed in the morning because my own back hurts and my own knees hurt, I digress.
Exactly as well too. But that's going to go ahead and do it for us here on the High Low Sports Podcast. We appreciate you all joining us here this evening, or if you're checking this out later on in the week as well too. Let us know what you think about the prospects. Tell us who your favorite XFL team is. Let us know what you think about load management as well too. You reach out to us on all of our socials as well too. And we got a lot of fun stuff coming up, so keep up to date on that as well too. And until next time, we will see you guys all later next week. We look forward to talking more sports with you guys as the season and the years go along.